our mental landscape is absolute truth to us. It's how we experience the world. What I think goes, it's your thoughts. There is no part of your mind that naturally challenges your thoughts.
I'm feeling anxious. Let me stop and take some breaths and take control of the situation in a different way. It's a great skill to have, but it's something you have to develop.
Think about how so many people are suffering due to their own thought life, due to the way that they approach their life, the things they believe about themselves and other people, the ways that they approach this world because of the thoughts that they have.
When your thoughts are negative and they're kind of like, they start to cement themselves, you start running off of them and it becomes like a whole other additional thing to your personality that you walk around with.
What is going
No. No.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Good, Brave, and Heroic podcast. Today we are going to have an episode titled, Your Negative Thoughts Will Destroy Your Future If You Don't Do Something About It. I just added that part on right now. It's hilarious because, well, it's not hilarious to you, but I'm laughing because I turned and I looked at my wife, who is the co-host of this podcast, if you were not aware, and I just see my daughter, Olivia, just staring at me like. So she is the co-host, the what is it?
Remix.
No, the assistant to the assistant, assistant to the regional manager, Olivia Munoz. Welcome to the podcast. What do you think about negative thoughts destroying your future?
This is a meme.
I can hear her breathing because I'm monitoring audio. She's just like. So, negative thoughts can destroy your future. Absolute fact. I mean, I feel like, what can you say about that? Everybody have a good day. Enjoy yourselves, because if you don't do something negative,
I thought you
positive,
were closing out.
That's what, that was the joke.
Oh.
When you, my wife Johanna brought up this topic, by the way, when you shared that idea, I was like 100% down, because for me, it's absolutely insane. Like, we're really not aware just how much our thoughts shape our reality. And the reason why I say that is because, yeah, of course, like, you have a thought, it doesn't like automatically just change what is going on in your life, but with time, it really can. Like, if you really don't, if we're talking spiritually, right? If you don't have faith, right, then that's going to severely impact you. But even outside of faith, it's really important for us to even challenge our thoughts, which we don't do naturally. As human beings, our mental landscape is absolute truth to us. It's how we experience the world. What I think goes, it's your thoughts. Like, there is no part of your mind that naturally challenges your thoughts. You have to build that muscle, if you will. And I tell people that all the time, especially young men. I'll tell them all the time, I'll be like, listen, if there's a skill that you can cultivate, it's, first of all, arming yourself with the mental belief that you are wrong about things, which a lot of people would be like, how's that beneficial to me? It's very beneficial to be aware of the fact that you can and are wrong about many things. And then on top of that, being able to then build the muscle of asking yourself, where is this thought coming from? Therapy does a lot of that, right? Which is really dope. It is one of the main benefits of therapy, where your thoughts can be challenged and you can learn how to challenge your own thoughts. But even just in life, you can learn how to do it outside of therapy. Like, you can learn to just ask yourself, where is this thought coming from? Is this something that's true? Is this something that I'm arriving at because it's kind of like my default, right? I always end up here some way or some form. And so I think it's like, well, when I think about it, I think about how so many people are suffering due to their own thought life, due to the way that they approach their life, the things they believe about themselves and other people, the ways that they approach this world because of the thoughts that they have. All of those things put together, it's so much, but yeah, I love the topic.
Are you handing me the mic?
I'm just getting it away from my mouth. So.
Oh. Yeah, so being 3 months postpartum, hormones all over the place, from being pregnant and then dealing with the birth and everything, all the changes that your body goes through after birth as well, and while continuing to breastfeed, there's like a whirlwind of things that happen internally that we don't see, but we feel all the effects of. And so when I thought about that topic, I thought about my own season of life. And, you know, I thank God I'm not going through anything postpartum like depression or postpartum anxiety, nothing like that. I thank God for so much. But I do experience things because my hormones are all over the place. And I think about how much I constantly have to reel myself in, or how I constantly have to reword things for myself, reword things, rephrase things in the way that I say them, what I say, the tone that I use, the pace that I speak at when I'm speaking to myself or my kids or my husband, because I think about how the message, you know, like, it's not that I'm sugarcoating, but if I'm telling myself like I don't know, like I need to hurry up. Yeah, I need to hurry up, but I could do that at a less frantic pace or approach. I could do that with intentionality because I don't want to be late, and that's being responsible. Yeah. But it's also responsible to maybe like learn to manage that so that you're not running on anxiety. So for example, this week was the kids' Easter break, and we watched Inside Out 2. And if you don't know, spoiler alert, which you should have watched it already because it's been out. But anyway, anxiety comes in. And my 5-year-old, our 5-year-old, she has a lot of questions when anxiety comes in. And she says, "Mom, why is anxiety controlling Riley?" And I was like, insightful, child.
A very good question.
Very good question. And of course, as a mom, as a social worker, I'm like, let's talk about that. But I was told by my 5-year-old that I have a tendency to stop things to explain and talk through things, and I need to stop that. So I wasn't stopping.
Stopping the movie, right?
Yeah.
But she asks a question, and then she's like, "Why did you stop the movie?" And it's like, how do you expect me to answer that question?
Yeah. So I paused it, and we talked about it. And so my whole point in bringing that up is that we see in that movie how anxiety does end up controlling it, but anxiety itself had no control over itself because it's anxious. And it comes to a point where it's like a whirlwind. It's like a whirlwind. It's like a tornado of itself. And it's that one emotion. It's not like, oh, let me turn this off. At one point, who was it? It was Joy who comes in, the emotion, the character, and tries to come in, and it's not working. And I think anxiety like tears up or something. Like it kind of looks desperate at Joy and is like, I can't stop.
Yeah, I can't stop.
It's paralyzed. Mm-hmm. And going back to my original example, I can run off of anxiety because I'm anxious about getting.
Let's see if the blanket. Let's see if she'll sit with me. Or switch. Okay. You can keep talking.
She keeps trying to get the blanket. It was a little chilly. You know, wanting to hurry up, it's true. That is a fact. I need to be on time is the fact. What I don't need to do is get mad at everyone for moving slower, or get mad at my like 3-year-old who's like still developing her motor skills and is trying to move as fast as she possibly can and is trying to process that we need to move from one thing to another. And I can't expect her to do it as fast as I do.
Right.
And that's hard. Right. And so all that to say is that I can, those moments, I could really be like building a lot of pressure in the atmosphere for myself, for my own kids, which then turn into these thoughts of, oh my goodness, you guys are this, or you guys are that, or, these thoughts and ideas about how I'm a terrible parent because my kids can't move, they can't listen, or they are not moving fast enough for me, or
that's so real. Yeah.
Whatever it is. Or I could, it's not, again, like you said, it's not a natural thing to just be like, I'm feeling anxious. Let me stop and take some breaths and take control of the situation in a different way. It's a great skill to have, but it's something you have to develop and put into practice. And so all that to say that it's very easy to go down a path of your thoughts running amok and dictating the situation, dictating the atmosphere. And then eventually, like, if these things like become a pattern sometimes, like a habit, you kind of don't notice it because it's like just noise in the background. Mm-hmm. And then out of nowhere, you're just like, I don't know, like you feel like when your thoughts are negative and they're kind of like, they start to cement themselves, you start running off of them and it becomes like a whole other additional thing to your personality that you walk around with, like a weight that you walk around with, because you couldn't check it, you didn't know how to check it, you weren't aware that it was happening too fast. And it is a skill to stop. It is a skill to know, to catch those moments. But it is hard because it's not like everyone has a degree in mental health, you know, and that's also kind of fairly new in our society right now. I think we're in the phase where everybody's talking about their trauma and seeking healing and positivity. But I don't think that we've come to the other side of it where just yet. And I pray that we do to, okay, yes, now we know there's trauma, then what? Because acknowledging that you have the trauma and then pinpointing those trauma triggers is one piece of the puzzle. Then there's what's next.
I gotta say, I really love the mental picture of the fact that, you know, she takes control but she doesn't even have control over herself. And while you were sharing that and going into like your own personal example, I really saw like mental picture of the emotions in the driver's seat and how like that's just a mess. And I say a mess because I am that mess. Like we're all that mess. Like, I don't know, like, yeah, being very emotionally regulated is the goal. And there's people that get there, of course. I'm just out here in the streets trying to figure it out. Like, the more, and maybe that's how it is. Like, the more progress you make, you still feel like there's still a next step and you never really sit down to congratulate yourself. So that's a whole other conversation. But I think there's just so much to be said about the importance of really seeking self-regulation, being regulated as a parent, as a Christian, as a man, as a woman, as a brother, sister, whatever, right? Just as a person, being able to know I'm in the driver's seat, or even better, God is in the driver's seat. And I have severely limited those moments where an emotion comes in and takes total control. That's not easy, but like we got to say it's the goal. We have to say it's the goal. And I think that if we're really honest with ourselves and we're really aiming to be a better person, and I think that the people listening to this podcast are the type of people who are like, I want to be a better parent. I want to be a better husband and wife. I want to be a better contributor to society, whatever. Like they just want to be better because that's like what the whole podcast is about, right? Then we have to like seriously make it our goal to like get to the point where we're regulated, where we're focused and honed in on who God has created us to be and who and what we need to do in order to be that. And part of it is having self-control. Part of it is being able to say, I'm experiencing this emotion right now, especially if you're a parent, because that's the one that really takes it out of you. Like the first one, obviously marriage, it does. And you're like, wow, marriage is a mirror. Well, if marriage is a mirror, parenting is like a mirror that is like sentient and follows you everywhere and gets in your face like, yeah, this is you. Did you forget? And you're just like, yo, relax.
Unfiltered.
Can I get a break? Like, and no, you cannot have a break, my friend. And so you really have to confront yourself. And, you know, we come from a position where it's like, we're still figuring it out. Like, we're still actively figuring out. We're working together to improve on. Yeah. You want to say something else? Okay, I felt like she had to interject something. We're still in a position where we're trying to figure it out, trying to get better, trying to get there. But there's so many like easy traps that can happen that'll get you right back to that unregulated, triggered mess of a version of you. And it's like the big thing about that is realizing that it takes time. Like, I remember you telling me actually that you can't undo a lifetime of habits and reactions and ways of thinking and being in a 2-year span. You can't. And look at us, like we've been parents for 5 years now and we have 4, right? And so that is a high intensity, high octane drive. So yeah, like I want to take a second to give ourselves some credit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think people should give themselves credit when it's due, right? Like I love that thing that says that if you're wondering if you're a good parent, you probably are, because bad parents don't wonder if they're good parents. And I think that obviously there's probably exceptions to that, but I think that's really true. Like, there's parents out there that, you know, they just live life. And then there's parents that are wondering like, hey, am I doing an okay job? Am I messing up my kids? Or like I was telling a friend of mine the other day while we were at a job, I was telling him like, yo, like, I'm really proud of our generation. Like, millennial dads stepped it up. We were the generation that said, we ain't doing this no more. Like, we're going to be active. We're going to be present. And we're going to be there. And it's like, dang, that's something to be proud of. That's something to like, yeah, keep getting better, but also be like, we did this. Mm-hmm. And I think that is also a way to combat those thoughts and emotions. That's also a way to do that, because if you're constantly just in like growth, then you're always focusing on the negative, which we already tend to do. Mm-hmm. But if you're also celebrating the good, then you also know what to aim for. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
No, yeah. Makes a lot of sense. I'm glad that you brought up dysregulation, because I think that maybe there are a lot of Christians that hear that mental health jargon and go, oh, sounds a little liberal for me. It sounds a little much for me. I think I'm going to shut this off. Don't. Wait, there's biblical things to this. Because God comes up with these ideas first, and then we go and do research and studies and get degrees, and then we're like, we've discovered this, and we're going to coin it this term. It already existed, and it's called the renewal of your mind. It's called the fruit of the Spirit. It's called self-control. That's what that means. It's not like, I don't know, like it's not practicing or learning how to be regulated doesn't mean like be this perfect person that is stuffing their emotions away or is feeling everything and going through all the feelings and listening to every feeling and letting it dictate our lives. No.
You also have James that talks about the man, what is it? The unstable man, the double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Like, if you don't have your mind
submitted to God,
you're going to be unstable.
There's so many verses that we can point to, like, you know, it tells us to not be tossed to and fro. It talks about I mentioned the renewal of the mind. I've mentioned be slow to anger, be slow to speak, which is also in James. And there's all these verses that are important to look at and to to remember that is right there. It doesn't say these words verbatim, self-regulation, but that's self-regulation. God calls us to be disciplined. God calls us to have self-control over the way that we speak. He calls us to submit our minds. He calls us to submit our thoughts, to filter our thoughts. And that's what we in the mental health realm called self-awareness. And so don't throw this away just because you're hearing these words, or even when you hear them, from other people. Obviously filter through what people are saying and how they're saying it, but remember that these are God ideas. I feel like people are now just understanding how to navigate through it all. And so, I also really love what my therapist says when I'm like, I'm really trying not to like snap, and I don't really snap, but I'm trying not to be like so angry or whatever. And she's like, and then I tell her like the situation, and then she's like, well, that sounds like a normal response to me. And anger, frustration are not bad emotions. They're emotions. They're just information. And so if it's like I'm talking about me being a parent, and she's like, well, it's a good thing that your kids see mommy angry or whatever, because then they know how to handle it. If you never expose them to that and they don't know how to navigate it because they've never seen you do it. And so,
sorry, just to add to that too, like they also will grow up feeling shame when they're angry, because they are going to think, oh, this is like they never saw you experiencing it, so they might think that you don't get angry. And then because they're comparing themselves to you, they're going to think, oh, this must be bad, so I must hide it.
Yeah. Or the other way, it goes the other way. They just, like they don't have the tools for it. And so they act out in different ways, whether it's like physical or whatever else to express that, to get it out. And, but yeah, there's biblical context to all this stuff. This is not just us being trendy or hip or whatever it's called now. It is important because it's important for our growth, for our spiritual lives. It's what God calls us to do. And like you said, I really like what you said, that, we don't always have to be coming from this approach of always looking to grow, because yes, we should always be looking to grow, but we don't always have to be, not every moment has to be productive. Sometimes the most productive moments are being still. And just kind of like letting life happen. Like you don't have to analyze every single little thing or every single little emotion. Not everything has to be addressed in a whole big topic. Again, it's like you're in the driver's seat, or God's in the driver's seat and you're the passenger, you're the co-pilot. You get to decide, does this emotion warrant, or does this thought warrant
Okay, we're almost done. Okay, this is the only position she wants. She wants to be face to face with me
because she wants to talk.
Yeah, she wants to, like, she just looks at me.
Does this thought warrant my attention right now? Because not every thought does. Not every emotion does. Sometimes it's just information. Sometimes you just have to filter it through and then keep it moving. It doesn't have to be a whole thing. So yeah. So I was actually thinking about this yesterday, how we sometimes I think I've learned that over the years, over the last 5 years that we've had kids, I can be very hard on myself, and with the first two, I was like, I'm going to get back to the gym immediately as soon as the doctor says I can. But before that, I'm going to sneak in ways to get active anyway and walk like eventually an hour. And yeah, it didn't happen every time. It just never happened. And then I would beat myself up for it because of my expectations. They didn't get met. And then after the next two, I was like, okay, let me lower my expectations. And then they kept getting lower, and I was getting very upset about it. And then finally in the fourth one, I'm like, we'll see if we could even take a walk. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know. And I had this thought yesterday that might ruffle some feathers.
Ruffle feathers.
Watch out with the feathers. And I thought, well, this is just not my season and I get to choose that. It's not my season or it's not the season where I can do everything and all the things. And I am okay with taking off that pressure and letting go that I can't be in the gym. I think that I would like to just take that pressure off and just know that usually the first year of the baby's life is a lot on me personally, and maybe it's not for others, but it is for me. And I'm choosing that if I go to the gym, cool. If I don't, that's okay too. I think my goal will just be to remain healthy and active in whatever way I can. And I started that when we had Ellie. Like I would go, it was during the summer I had her, so we would go on like walks and hikes and do like stuff in nature, and that was my way of being active.
That really shouldn't ruffle feathers, because it's not, you're not being prescriptive. You're not telling people this is how it should be for everyone.
Yeah.
You're sharing your experience. They don't know your life.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know your circumstances. They don't know your tools and your gift set. Like maybe there's this like superhuman out there that has very similar circumstances, but has a pull-up bar and just figures it out. Like, you know what I'm saying? But her situation or his situation, well, he wouldn't get pregnant, but her situation wouldn't be prescriptive to you either. Or you look like, she's like zoned in on me, wouldn't be prescriptive to you either. Like we have to be able to understand that everybody's in a different phase of life and everybody has different circumstances
and resources.
Yeah, and resources, and so much influences that. And I really wanted to say that because like people really get turned up about stuff like that, and it like some stuff like that.
It's not your business.
No, and you know, like there's room for us, like as friends, being like, well, have you tried this? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, again, relationally, right time, right place, all those things, yes, 100%. But like the whole, like, yeah, it's too complicated of a conversation to navigate where there's so many influencing factors, and I don't want to do that because my brain works like that and I go down a tangent. But just wanted to say, like, it really should not ruffle feathers because, I don't know, it's just...
That's just life, and everybody lives
life.
a different one. But here's where it might ruffle feathers, though. So what I was going to say next is, I
didn't know there was more.
I think it's very easy, especially with social media, to see a lot of great parents out there that are really just doing it. You know, they are working out, they're lifting weights, and they've got like 7 kids or however many kids, and they've got a garage gym, or they go out, you know, in their nice neighborhoods, and they've got the nice sidewalks without the bumps and the cracks that they can run with their strollers, or whatever it is. You know, I don't know what all the sidewalks look like. So
can we also just add to that we admire those people? So
we
it's
do.
Not like, yeah, so it's
we
not
do.
like, I don't want nobody to think like, oh, do they have something to say? No, like we admire those people.
But I can find myself being like, man, why can't I do it? And their captions will be like, if I can do it, you can too, or there's no excuse.
Everybody
and I'm
has
like,
the same 24 hours.
right. And I'm like, or people that are like,
It's true to a degree.
you can just wake up earlier than the kids and just, you know, have your me time or do a workout. And I'm like, you know how many times I tried that? I'm 4 kids deep. It doesn't work for me. You know, sometimes it does, but it is inconsistent
for moms, especially if you're breastfeeding. Like that's what I've tried to do, and there's been seasons where it worked well for me. Like the whole waking up early, and when it's working, it's working. I will say it is working, but like managing up, if you're a mom, you know, managing a pumping schedule, breastfeeding, everything has to fall into place perfectly. So really, I think like the solution is a garage gym. That's like the ideal situation.
and even that would have its challenges.
Yeah.
So all that to say is that, like you can, like you said, we admire those people. We want to be those people. And sometimes we are those people. With Ellie, at some points I was going outside during her naps to jump rope, and then that stopped. But you can really be almost influenced by others around you into this negative thought pattern that you're not doing enough, or that you're not good enough, or whatever the self-talk is. And and then so you fall into that trap of needing to do more. You fall into the trap of feeling like you need to constantly be growing. And the other day I was thinking, at the end of my day, I always do this like processing of the day, like how it went. And I thought, it was a hard day. I think you were working all day. You weren't here. And I was like, I just need to enjoy my girls, because they're not going to be this little all the time. I just need to find a way to enjoy my girls. Find a way. In between all the bickering and stuff, find a way. Instead of trying to always just figure out, okay, if like a mad scientist, what will work? And it's like, you don't have to look for constant growth. Like, let God do that too. Let God in to do that work. You don't have to keep working all the time. You need to sometimes just rest and chill out.
I agree 110%. And I will say, I'm not a health expert. I'm a person that's learning too. And I think that, when it comes to like all of this, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, emotional health, like you have to seriously apply yourself to get to that point where you feel, or better yet than feeling, like where you are actually healthy. Give yourself a good why to why you want to do it. Give yourself grace in the seasons that you struggle. Give yourself an adequate push for the seasons where you can, and maybe you just don't feel like you can. That comes back to the whole challenging your thoughts, because sometimes you might be telling yourself, oh, I can't right now. I know I've been there a bunch of times. And it's like, no, actually you can. That's another benefit to marriage, where you can go to the person and be like, I've gone to you a billion times, been like, babe, I can't figure this out. Okay. Like, can you give me another perspective? And sometimes you're like, my man, you have been busting your behind. You're doing a great job. You need to relax. You're going to get there. And I'm just like, oh, I am? Because, like sometimes we think our results directly correlate with our input. And sometimes they don't. Long term, they do. Long term, you keep going at something. Eventually, you should be able to figure it out. It should start to grow. But sometimes there are seasons where your input does not equal your output, right? Sometimes roots are being formed that are not easily visible. And so we have to sometimes have the patience and the trust in God that he is going to do a good work in us. And that if we continue to follow his plan, like we'll be good, like we'll be chilling, like seriously, we're going to be all right. God has control, and God is going to do his will in our lives. So you want to close us out?
How do we close again? I don't remember.
Press all the buttons.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If you didn't click off of this, thank you. And if there is anything that you want to share, please do so in the comments. We can start a conversation there if you'd like. Make sure that you share this video with any and everyone that you'd like to have a part of this little community that is sometimes here. And thank you for being patient with us. And thank you, Olivia, Sophia. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us, and make sure that you do all the things, press all the buttons, do all the things, share, like, comment, subscribe, blah, 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 and anything else I'm missing. My brain isn't working well because I'm not sleeping, but everything that I didn't think of, you can think of, do that. That right there. Thank you again and have a great day.
Bye, guys.